Welcome to another episode of Tomes and Tunes. I am your host, Arielle Silver, songwriter and essayist from Los Angeles, California. And this is the 54th episode of Tomes and Tunes, where I talk about books and swap songs with songwriters from around the world. This has been a really awesome way to connect with other songwriters about the other thing, or one of the other things that I love, books. It's been a really delightful conversation throughout this whole interesting, tender, strange, topsy-turvy year plus that we've been having, and now things are starting to open up. I have started booking live in-person shows. I know that my guests have also been booking live in-person shows. I'm really excited to right now be working on an upcoming show here in Southern California with one of my former guests on Tomes and Tunes, and I'll tell you more about that next week after it's solid. Here we are, Tomes and Tunes. Another thing that has happened recently is that I just launched a Patreon, which is for those who are not familiar with it, a membership platform where you can support creators and the creative work that they're doing. And basically through your support, I am able to continue doing shows like this and make new songs and all of that stuff. And there's some perks involved, and if you're interested in joining, I'm just going to let that ticker tape go through the show on the bottom, and it's as low as $3 a month, and that helps to offset the costs of this live streaming software and all the other stuff, promotion, booking, radio, all the things that go along with being a singer-songwriter in the modern day world. So I'll stop talking about that for now. Maybe I'll tell you a little bit about it later, but please visit that patreon.com/ArielleSilver to see what I'm up to. And besides that, this week we have Tina Ross, who is an East Coaster. I love when we get some cross-country conversation going on. She and I actually met through song circles, which have all been online this year. And to be honest, it's been a really beautiful thing that, I think of, speaking of books, one of my favorite books as a kid was A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. And in that book, she talks about what she calls a tesseract, or a wrinkle in time, where the book gets its name, where for those of you who haven't read the book, it's imagining time and space instead of traveling on, from point A to point B on a straight line, which of course we know that the shortest distance between a straight line, or between 2 points, is a straight line. She talks about folding time up and making a wrinkle in time, and I feel like that's what Zoom has been all about. It's just a tesseract, and these kinds of shows. And one of the awesome things has been song circles that have been happening behind the scenes, some of them broadcast, some of them not for the public, but Tina and I keep bumping into each other on some song circles, and we've become mutual fans. So it's such a pleasure to bring on Tina Ross. Hello. Hey.
So great to be here.
Really nice to be able to talk, because mostly we're just like listening to each other's songs in the song circles and then chatting,
right.
Like, hey, I loved your song, you know? But this is cool.
What a great comparison, Wrinkle in Time, to the Zoom world that's going on now.
Yeah, have you read that book?
Brought people, yes, long time ago, but yes. Yeah. And it's a great comparison, because it's there really isn't unexpected connections that we've all made.
100%.
That we wouldn't have. We would have missed each other in time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, what are the chances that we would share a stage together?
No.
You know? Right? Unless
absolutely.
I hope so at some point when we're touring or some festival, but I think that the likelihood that we will is greater now because we know each other. And so, if I'm coming to the East Coast or you're coming over to Los Angeles, it's like, hey, Arielle, I'm in town, or hey, Tina, I'm coming over. Let's do a show together. Now it can happen because of that.
And I'm a little fan of yours. I really love your music.
Likewise, I feel
really
the same.
Has your way with words and your voice, and Your rhythm is really good. I like
Interesting.
Your rhythm. Yeah.
Thank you.
I like your rhythm. Yeah, for sure. I always listen for that.
Folk singer's got some rhythm.
Yeah.
That's nice to know. Okay, going back to that Wrinkle in Time. So you read that book a long time ago. That was a
long time ago.
That was a book when I was a kid, elementary school.
Right.
That book and also Little Women were two books that the first time I picked them up, and I really have to credit my mom for this. The first time I picked those books up, she had loved them both, and they were a little bit beyond what I could comprehend at the time, just a little beyond, if not my reading level, my comprehension level, right? And I remember distinctly her saying, don't worry about it. You're gonna love this book. Just put it down, pick it up again next year. And I have ever since, that happened with A Wrinkle in Time. I think I might have first tried it in 3rd grade, and then in 4th grade, 5th grade. I ended up reading it every year for a few years. And same with Little Women. It was just a book that I picked up over and over. And she would say this to me, this isn't the time yet for you to be able to get this. But don't dismiss it.
I love her.
Don't dismiss it.
Wow, that she would say that. I actually read that book to my daughter.
Yeah.
I remember reading it to her, and among other books that were above her,
Yeah.
And then she would. But what's really interesting, I remember for her, what would happen is that she would read a book and not fully understand it, and get some language from it, and not really know how to pronounce the words, but she knew it in context, but hadn't necessarily heard the word. So it was really wonderful. It was delightful. Sometimes she'd come up with this really advanced word, which she wasn't pronouncing correctly.
Yeah.
And I would never correct her, at some point, or I would say it in a sentence with her so she wouldn't feel like, uncomfortable about it. I would say blah, 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 and then say it in a different way, but never tell her that she was, mispronouncing it. So
good for you.
Yeah, but
That's
it was
so
that was
lovely.
really, but the fact that your mom said that to you is really, probably an important part of your love of books. Yeah.
I think, she was a book lover, and, I had a lot of her cloth bound. The Wrinkle in Time edition that I read was the one that she had read. So it was cloth bound.
Do you still have it?
I don't have it here, and I don't know where it might be. She might. It's possible I moved around a lot as a kid, and she moved around a lot even as, even when I was an adult, she continued to move around. So I don't know if she's still. There were a whole bunch of books that had similar covers. It was Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Marjorie Morningstar, A Wrinkle in Time. There were a whole bunch. Plus, I think a lot of Nancy Drews that all had this like cloth bound. Yeah, and
all of those.
Yeah, and they were. I mean, I just I would
into.
just sit in the family room and just take a book off. I came to love those cloth bound books, so I knew that if I took any of those books that had that bluish greenish cover on it, if I took it down, I knew that it was in keeping with, like within the realm of these other books that I also loved that had the same feel and look
the
to them.
tactile, which is something we miss. I have so many books on my phone, but I still love to have the actual book and read the actual book. It's the whole experience of it.
I do too.
And especially when it's, and I just want to, also when a book just has, really thicker pages and there's a whole experience of it. It's, for sure.
I do think that has a multi-sensory experience. And, when you're reading on your phone or your Kindle or something like that, it's the words, it's the narrative on the page, which is, of course, the art. But, what?
No, I was just thinking, when you were saying before, prior to, we're having a little conversations just so people know, prior to coming online, on air. And Arielle was saying that somehow in her brain she mixes words together.
Did I just do it?
And no, you didn't. But I'm connecting what you just said with that. Okay, so that sometimes we have like a glitch in our, and what it makes me think of is something that Virginia Woolf would say about words. That words are like memories. They are things that live in our brains. and they meet each other, and they come together. Maybe a French word will meet an English word, and that kind of thing. And just how words are alive in a sense. I just love that concept of it. And so that just made me think when you just talked about the words. And so anyway, I just put all that together. So because there's a quote that I kind of keep by my writing space. Yeah.
It's show and tell,
sorry,
folks, right here.
So that this, because I love words, and I'm sure you do too, and that's the whole thing. And also in songwriting, how words can have a different depth, and we're always looking to, expand the meaning of a word in songwriting, right? Have double meaning, or have somebody think of something. So I just have. This is not a direct quote, but just things that I know that words carry memory. They belong to each other. Words belong to each other. Is that a wonderful, I don't know. I just think they tell the truth and they create beauty. They mate together, right? Elite words with common words, English and French words are democratic. Like they don't really care who they connect with, and they're many-sided. They have many meanings to different people, and they live in our minds. And also one of the things I remember, I don't know where I read this, it was in one of her probably essays or something, that we have to feel before we use words. Anyway, this is very inspirational for me when I'm writing. So there's so many times I've read that before I sit down, like this is my space where I write. So yeah, so words are wonderful and amazing, and so that's what I'm just riffing from what you just said. Yeah,
I had a creative writing teacher, so not songwriting but prose, who gave us a few exercises regarding the Latinate versus Germanic word choices that we were making, and he wanted us to be conscious of the fact that we could use the word little, or we could use the word small. Or we could, like, English is such a rich language because we have so many synonyms, because we've drawn from so many languages and we've really blended them all. And so we can choose based on, and this was prose. So I think that, I don't know, but I think that a lot of prose writers are silent as they're writing. But for me, when I'm writing prose, I get hoarse. By the end of the day, I have been speaking aloud in my room if I'm just writing prose all day, because the sound of the words is really important. And if I want to say small, perhaps if I have a string of other S words, I want that alliteration, or maybe I purposely don't want it, or maybe I want a one-syllable word versus a two-syllable word, or just the talking about rhythm, like the rhythm of the multisyllabic synonym, whatever it is. I love that.
This is what makes you a good songwriter. That you approach words in this way, because words do have an inherent rhythm, as you said.
Yeah.
And there are words that go together better than others.
Sure. Yeah.
Aside from the fact that Virginia Woolf says they don't care. But they do.
Yeah, right.
I think they do care. I mean, they care. They're alive. They care. No, that they do care in some way, or we care how they feel, because there is a sense to the words, right? When you're saying it out loud, that's what you're doing, and when we sing the words out loud, that's what we're doing. We're singing the feeling of the word, and I labor over that, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I do
labor.
too.
Over the words. Yeah.
My sweetheart and I own a online yoga studio that we launched. That was one of the things that we created during this past year. We both have been teaching yoga for a long time, and teaching at studios, and all the studios shuttered, of course, like everything else, last March here in Southern California. And in September, we officially unveiled our online studio, Bhavana Flow Yoga.
Congratulations.
So we both are teaching yoga every day, and, it's very much a body, mind, spirit practice, and it's a holistic yoga studio, Anyway, so I asked him the other day, because I have noticed that when I'm teaching, frequently I'll say, take a deep breath in, fill up your lungs. And I have found that I cannot stand that word lung. It is a very hard word to say, and it's very hard to enunciate and let it carry across the studio. You know, is the microphone on my laptop picking it up for the Zoom yoga classes, or, you know, whatever it is. So I asked my sweetheart the other day, I was like, what do you think about this word lung? And isn't it inconvenient that this is like a body part that, you know, and he said, I never say that word. I'm like, what do you say instead? And he said that he just says, breathe in, take a deep breath in. I'm like, that's brilliant.
Chest might have a nicer word.
Yeah, chest. Right?
Fill your chest.
Yeah.
That might have a better
Fill your
feel.
chest.
Fill your chest.
But also, I want to talk about the lungs on the back of the body as well, not just because I feel like we're conscious of this part, but not the, you know, the way our rib cage expands in all the directions, and the diaphragm, you know, shifts to make space, or to, you know, all of the things. So lung, I'm having a hard time
Doesn't
with
feel.
that
I agree with you. And also with your singing, you know, you want to expand the lower part. I mean, when you have that kind of ring that you want to open, and you know
the corset,
apogeo breathing, whatever, where you're breathing apogeo. I believe that's the word. Where
we should ask your daughter
how to
say it.
You're right. that you're expanding the bottom part of your lungs, and then keeping that expanded while you are singing. So, you know, and it's kind of drawing a kind of negative pressure, which actually helps to increase the pressure from your diaphragm. So it's interesting. Look it up. Just in terms of singing, it's a really helpful technique.
My gosh.
Yeah. So I am also a certified yoga teacher. When I finished chiropractic school, which was way, way back, I took a month and went to Kripalu for a month.
Oh, yeah.
And I did a yoga teacher training there so that I would be able to really understand yoga and teach that to my patients, because I was a chiropractor, teach that to my patients as a way of, you know, outside of the office, as a way of continuing healing and connecting to their bodies, and of course breathing. So yeah, I had very short time I had a class, but I really used it in practice.
I'm so curious who your teacher was. Do you remember who you
Yeah. Oh gosh, so long ago. Gurudev was there at the time. Do you know Kripalu?
I'm familiar with Kripalu. I've never had the pleasure of going. But
yeah, my teachers at that time, oh gosh, what was his name? Manu was his
Manu, my friend.
Manu.
Yeah, I have a friend who studied with Manu.
Oh,
also.
yes, Manu.
Yeah, I love
He
it.
was a teacher. And my sister actually is a yoga teacher now. Preeti Robin Ross. She taught at Kripalu forever, and also taught yoga teachers yoga there for a long time. And now she's doing other things around the world and stuff. But
love it.
Yeah,
folks, we're taking Tina and I are taking the yoga tomes and tunes on the road. We're just going to talk about books and yoga, and it's awesome. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing about that that idea of, because you reminded me of how my mom said, you know, wait on this book, or try it again in a year. Don't give up on it. Yeah. And you know, it's funny, I haven't thought about that in a long time, but a cousin of mine who is of my mother's generation gave me a copy of Jane Eyre when I was, I don't know, too young to get it. But it was a gorgeous book. It had beautiful illustrations, not many, but like, you know, maybe 10 or 15 over the course of this book. And when I received that book for my cousin, I think it was Hanukkah or something like that, my mom said, wait on this book, because you won't quite get it yet. And she was basically, I don't know, it was like another reminder that like it will come, right? But the illustrations were so beautiful that I used to take this book off the shelf and flip through it and just look at the illustrations, and I couldn't wait till I was old enough to read the book.
To have that longing about reading.
I really did long to read that book.
Wonderful to instill that in your child.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So what was reading for you as a child?
Well, it was a discovery of different worlds. I also liked, more of the magical. That's why Wrinkle in Time, as time that was a book. I'm not sure when I read it. I'm trying to remember. I really don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm trying to think of I've science fiction, a little science fiction, a little yeah, I don't know why I'm having trouble answering.
It's hard
the
on
question,
this. It's
because
hard
like,
on. I'm asking you to like go back in time to memories
really
that you
long
probably
time.
haven't.
Right. Yeah.
When I was in ninth grade, started high school, and to me, I there was something about the high school lunchroom that I didn't want to participate in. I didn't want to be there.
I see.
I felt like that there was something chaotic and noisy and overwhelming about the lunchroom scene in high school. So it was like fourth period or something like that. So instead of going to the lunchroom, I would go to the library. And I started to make my way through Ray Bradbury at the time.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
absolutely.
when you said sci-fi, I think of...
God. Ate that up.
Yeah, love him.
And
he's beyond a sci-fi writer. I mean, he's really literary.
Yes.
His love of language is apparent.
Yes, absolutely. The Illustrated Man, I remember being so enamored with that idea that stories were alive in, on a body, just that each story, I just remember it's such a crazy, unbelievable story. Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me what you have been reading lately.
Arundhati, I guess, Roy, the God of Small Things. And we were talking about this, and you said it's on your night table to read, which is really, I would really encourage you to read it. It is what I've been actually within this last year reading more as an inspiration for songwriting.
Yes.
Which is interesting. It's a different way of reading. It's interesting. So while sometimes when I'm reading a novel, sometimes I would skip over some things to kind of get to the information. Sometimes I do that. I agree. I admit that I do that. Sometimes.
Earmuffs, everybody. You didn't
right.
hear that.
Sometimes I would. But in this year, it's more of how much can I soak up from the way that this person is writing this one sentence, and how is the language being used, and how can I, and that also in poetry, also, I mean, Mary Oliver has been, I keep her by my side of my bed, and I read, yes.
And there's another one right over there out of reach. So.
And I've been doing live shows on Sundays at 7 Eastern time on my Tina Ross music page, and often I'll just open a Mary Oliver book, and just read. I mean, and it just goes. It just centers me into nature and into all those words and how she's so positive. Yeah. I just feel like it just fills me. I go, okay, everything's okay, in a sense, the way that she...
Even when she writes about death, which she writes about death quite often. Oh, yes. Right? Does, but it finds its place back in the natural world, the natural cycle of things.
Nature. I mean, she is just... And actually, I have to say that there's a few songs that I've written this year that I think might have come from my feeling from her stories, from her poems. Yeah. There's one that I don't. Maybe I'll play that one. I don't know, but it's just it just starts in a whole nature, environment, and and anyway. So you were asking me about the language in this book, right?
Yeah.
You were saying it's interesting, and it's very playful. The main characters are like twins, and you see them like when they're 7, and you see them when they're older, and you see them throughout the whole book. And so she kind of almost creates a language. It's really interesting because, of course, words are amazing. And so she twists them a little, and she like capitalizes words that shouldn't be capitalized and puts them together. Like she'll put words together. Like, how was she describing that? She was talking about, like, you know, when you go to, when you're trying to get out of a movie and you're trying to walk between people and their legs go this way and that, or things that go this way and that. I don't know. She made one word out of that. And so she just is very playful. And although the themes are kind of dark in this, you know, just so you know, and it's just about, there's a lot about, you know, the caste system, and the women are strong, you know, but the language, if I were to say, the language is playful, you know.
That's what I've heard.
You know, that in a way, like it's kind of fun or interesting, her twist on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how you asked that.
Well, it's on my nightstand.
Yeah.
So it has not, I tend to shuffle things back and forth between the bookshelves and my nightstand. And so when it makes its way to my nightstand, it's sort of on deck. But then when I finish a book, I have to check in and check with the sun and the moon and the stars to figure out what direction do I want to go next.
Right.
I was floundering a little bit recently. That book was one of the ones that I considered. Here comes another airplane.
That's okay.
I ended up, I have 3 books that I am currently reading on my stand itself. One of them, I was feeling very down a couple of weeks ago, very discouraged. You know how it is with being an artist. It's like mostly I can buoy myself up, but there was just a moment in time when I was feeling doubtful. And that was the day that I pulled down the Bob Dylan Chronicles Volume 1 book. I was like, I just need something. Let me grab that. So I started that, but I don't really like celebrity memoir very much. Even Bob, sorry, everybody. I feel like I might be ostracized from some communities by saying this. Earmuffs again, please. Thank you. The other book is Salman Rushdie's The Satanic Verses, which is also very playful with language and very fast with language. I feel like I teach creative writing at Antioch University, and one of my students, she tried to get away with it twice, and the second time I said it worked the first time, but you can't do this for every paper, where she talked about the velocity of someone's writing. She described James Baldwin. She said that she appreciated his velocity of words, and then she said it the next week with another writer, and I said, no, you can't do it with James Baldwin and this other writer. I can't remember who the second one is. But I do feel like that word comes to mind when I think of Salman Rushdie. He had an essay in the New York Times earlier this week, and I just wanted to read it because I just really love it. Just has a flexibility, like a movement that's like, it's like a dance. It's a little bit, it's not quite jazz. It's not like Kerouac, you know, but it's not, it ultimately is linear, but it dances its way there, right? It doesn't just move.
Describe it
straight.
like that.
Yeah. So I feel like you reminded that, I mean, your description of that book reminds me of that.
Oh yeah. She, for the language and the description, it's worth reading because I actually went through and wrote a couple of quotes here.
Great.
She said the mirrors watched. I mean, I just love that. And that the boat looked surprised, and the knight's elbows rested on the water and watched them.
So a lot of
I just
anthropomorphizing.
Right. Oh, totally. Like
of time and objects.
Yeah, absolutely. Throughout. And so
it turns them into a character.
Oh, absolutely
right?
does. And I tend to do that in my stories, in my songs. So I guess I'm kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
So, and she talks about words too, like twinkle was like something that had crinkled edges. I don't know, just something like that. That the word actually made her think of something else.
Yeah.
So I really like that, and it stimulates me. It makes me feel. And the other thing that really worked for me in this, and we were talking about perspective, you know, point of view in songs, prior to
Yeah.
going on air, is that this takes place in so many different times, and it's sometimes, okay, where are we now? And
In the book that you're
in the book,
oh.
in this book, and it kind of foreshadows, and then it kind of, you're there, and it's interesting because I've tried to do that in songs, and you really can't. You have such a short period of time to get it across that you really can't. You have to be consistent in a song. Although I've tried.
Yeah, songs are structurally. I'm fascinated by structure.
Yeah.
I love song structure or literary structure. I really enjoy it, and one of the things I like about songs is how economical you have to be with your language, and how one of the things that I try to do sometimes is see how fast can I move through something in a song, but in a way that the listener is not lost in that, rather than, almost like with a camera, like a movie camera. It's like sometimes you get a very slow reveal of a scene, and then other times it just moves really fast and you just get like but you get it all. It's like, a zooming in or zooming out of something. But you have to do it fast, so you have to be precise with your language.
Right, it's the language you choose.
Yeah.
Right? And whether it's visual enough for people to just kind of almost just bypass their cognition and just see it enough that okay, boom, and it just kind of filters in without. But we have the luxury of music now. When we have the luxury of that behind it to set the scene for the words, and they ride together. So as opposed to just the book, which is on its own.
Yeah.
It's really on its own.
Wow, this is fun.
Yeah, it's on its own.
I love just language.
Oh, it's so absolutely.
It's so interesting.
And the thinking of how things, again, I'm going to keep going back to this because reading has been, how is it affecting my songwriting? Because I've been so immersed. Being that, and I'll just tell everyone, I just kind of started this road of songwriting. So been spending the year learning it and really getting as much as I can. So everything is through that, focus. Really. I mean, it's crazy. My husband's going crazy because I am just so, immersed in it. So everything is through that. I've even changed lyrics of a song because I was affected by the way I read something. Like Anne Lamott's Blue Shoes.
I haven't read Blue Shoes, but I love Anne Lamott.
Read it. It's very interesting, the character, but one of the things I felt that she was defining herself by her man, in a sense, the relationship. There was something she was grappling at some point. So there was a portion in the song where I had said that she feels like the character in my song feels like herself again because she's choosing a relationship. She's choosing love again. And I just thought, no, she's not herself. Maybe she feels hope, but she's always been herself. And she's not relating to someone else, so then she's herself. You know what I'm saying? So that actually made me change that. And then actually after that, my daughter was listening to the song, and I was doing both of those, and she thought, no, she's okay, on her own. She doesn't need to be defined by someone else. Anyway, so these things filter through, which they do in our lives. We read something and it has an impression, and one writer that I have been listening to through Audible.
Oh. So I go for a walk nearly every day, and it's about an hour long. And sometimes I'm listening to podcasts, and sometimes I'm talking on the phone with someone. But a lot of times I'm listening to books. So I'm simultaneously, reading several books at a time. And one thing that I stumbled on is the writer Maggie O'Farrell. And her book, Hemnet, is a novel inspired by the suggestion by some researchers that Shakespeare wrote Hamlet to help process the death of his son Hamnet several years prior. And it's a really awesomely, skillfully, beautifully contemplative book. And she never once mentions Shakespeare. She never once calls the mother by Anne Hathaway, which are names that we would recognize. Instead, Hamnet is named, his sisters are named, and the father, Shakespeare, is only ever named in relation to everybody. So he's the husband or the father or the son or something like that. Anyway, I highly recommend that book. I have not read it on the page, but through Audible, at least the narration was awesome. And I think that the written book probably, I think I might pick it up at some point in time. But anyway, I loved it so much that then I listened to The Disappearing Act of Esme Lennox, also by Maggie O'Farrell. And then when I finished that one, I listened to another one, The Hand That First Held Mine. So 3 novels of hers. And now I'm currently listening to a memoir of hers called I Am, I Am, I Am. And in this, the premise of this memoir, or I should say like the device through which she's exploring self-inquiry, she's telling, I think it's 17 near-death experiences of her life. And she basically says we all have them, but she just happens to be attuned to the fact that these were a moment in time when she could have actually died. And some of them are, violence, and some of them are illness, and, various things like that. But in the most recent chapter that I read, she talks about the first, I don't know what novel she was writing, but the first time that she was writing a novel. And she kept insisting it was a short story, except it was then 20,000 words and growing. And her friend said, I think you're writing a novel. And what she says is, this was all, I gave you all that backstory just to get to this point, which is that she says that all she knew was that writing this short story or novel gave her a sense of absorption like nothing else. She felt completely absorbed in it. Hours would pass, time, I loved how she said absorption, because to me, when I'm teaching meditation and when I'm reading through the yoga philosophy, Yoga Sutras, I think about how the sutras really say, it talks about absorption and single-minded focus. But then when I talk about creativity, I often talk about being in the flow and just focused and, but when she used that word absorbed and absorption, something just clicked into place, right? The two things just married. And so anyway, this is going back to what you were saying about when you're reading and how it helps you as a songwriter. And so I have like the Audible books in my ears and then the books that I'm reading on my nightstand, and it's like if I'm not reading or listening to a book that's inspiring to my songwriting flounders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't really do Audible. I think that I should. I really don't. I do have one book that was waiting. I think it's a Jodi Picoult, I think. I don't remember which book it was, but it was a while ago. And I just don't do it. I guess when I'm using my ears, I'm writing music.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I should, hearing this, I really need to do that.
I think that it's a different thing, and I still don't know quite. I still kind of feel like maybe on some level I'm cheating, although sometimes I do then end up purchasing the book that I've listened to, which for me it's a way to, I think many times I'm just trying to, like Hermione in Harry Potter, I feel like I'm trying to simultaneously like live as much as I can in this short life. And so I'm like, how can I read more books? Okay, Audible. So when I'm driving the car or when I'm out for a walk, I can like take in more, because there are just so many books in the world that I can't get to.
It's such a different experience too of a book, like to hear it
to have
read
it read
as
to
opposed to with all of that, as opposed to just reading it on the page.
Yeah.
I will do that. I'm glad that you're
Well, try Hamnet.
I will.
Try I Am,
I will.
I Am by
I will.
Maggie O'Farrell. I want to just say hi to the folks who are
Okay.
listening.
Oh,
Thank you
great.
all
I don't even-
for tuning in. You probably, Tina, if you hit the comments side, you'll
Oh,
see
I
that
see. I didn't
it's
know
been
that.
a very lively
Oh,
group.
Marilyn.
So
Oh, my gosh.
Nice to-
Marlon, Mariana. Oh, how beautiful. Welcome.
Hmm.
Oh, that's so nice.
And so I'll share with you that though I do have Bob Dylan and I do have Salman Rushdie on my nightstand at the moment, the problem with Salman Rushdie is his language is very playful. It is slow going. It's dense, really dense writing, and I have been very tired at the end of the day, which is when I tend to open up books. So I found myself inspired by it, but I also sense that I need to have a vacation. I feel like I just need to take that book with me on vacation or on a long airplane ride so that I can just read for a while. But at night, when I'm reading, I'm so tired that then I'll fall asleep and it's like, wow, 500 more words to go. Next day, 499 more pages to go, right?
Right.
So I picked up, also because of songwriting, I do the same thing, looking for inspiration. I picked up a book that I have read before. This is a memoir by Dani Shapiro. Are you familiar with her at all?
No.
She's a wonderful writer. This one is called Hourglass, Time, Memory, Marriage. Dani Shapiro, Dani.
Right.
And she writes, how to describe it? Like structurally, it's not just, it's not linear. It's more of perhaps a collage or mosaic kind of format, where
I like that.
maybe for a page or a couple of pages you are in a particular time and place, and then the next section you'll be somewhere else, but she's still thematically talking about the same thing, and she's spiraling in, like she's trying to understand something. And so this particular book, Time, Memory, and Marriage, she's trying to understand something, and so you'll come back to various things like the woodpecker that's pecking at the siding of their house, or I don't know what they're called. I don't know how to pronounce it. Kai wolves, koi wolves. It's like a new dog, wild dog. Coyotes and wolves, bred. Just like in the wild. And so then there's this new species, and they kind of recur, like they're kind of haunting her, like they look strange. They don't look like coyotes, and they don't look like wolves. But anyway, so you get that sort of thing. So maybe I'll read like a short
Oh, good. Go for
little
it.
thing here
Please.
as the plane goes overhead.
Yeah, there's your plane.
So I described it as like a collage or a mosaic, so I'll read this
Right.
one. These days my sleep is disrupted multiple times during the night. It's not insomnia, not exactly. M has started snoring, and so has the old demented dog. That's some of it. But the feeling is one of being nudged awake at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I lean over to look at the clock. Is it time to get up yet? I lie back down and listen to the snoring. My mind begins to thrum with worry. I compile lists, the kind sure to keep me up until dawn. For most of my life, I had the persistent sense that I was in a race. Someone, something was behind me, gaining on me, and I needed to keep moving in order to outpace it. Outpacing, it seemed a viable option. But the longer I've run, and as life has had its way with me, the more I have come to understand the foolishness of running. I married. I had a child. I wove all the threads of myself into a tapestry. I am part of a design. Now I hear the word forgive echo in my head. The voice isn't mine, more like a wise old crone insisting, forgive. But who is it I'm meant to forgive? I hear the first birds call across the meadow. The big fluffy dog stirs, then settles back down, bones hitting the floor in a satisfied thump. The bed creaks as M turns toward me. Jacob is asleep in his room on the other side of the staircase. doors closed, the multicolored plastic sign we purchased for a 4-year-old in a souvenir shop announcing Jacob's room still glued to the paint. What must we summon and continue to summon in order to form ourselves toward, against, alongside another person for the duration? To join ourselves to the unknown. What steadiness of spirit, what relentless faith. As dawn streaks pink across the sky, the crone's words land. It's us, I understand. M and me. It's us I need to forgive. A mosaic, writes Terry Tempest Williams, is a conversation between what is broken.
Wow, that is, also so hopeful. I mean, there's a piece of that I mean, it's describing the intensity of emotion, but I feel just the way that she's writing, there is a real hope. There's, and then it ends that way. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And she's trying to figure, figure it out.
Yeah.
As we all are.
Right.
Which is why I love memoir, because I'm like,
it's in us. Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's in us, that it's, in front of us.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. Wow.
I realized that I think we passed too quickly over the God of Small Things, though. Was there a portion that you
wanted to
read? You had to share?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I will do that. What I wanted to do is really just show you the poetry in the way that she writes, or how she describes things, really. Yeah. So I just thought I would read that. In the old house on the hill, baby Pachamama sat at the dining table, rubbing the thick, frothy bitterness out of an elderly cucumber. She was wearing a limp, checkered seersucker nightgown with puff sleeves and yellow turmeric stains. Under the table, she swung her tiny manicured feet like a small child on a high chair. They were puffy with edema, like little foot-shaped air cushions. She was 83, her eyes spread like butter behind her thick glasses. She could feel the rhythm of Estha's rocking and the wetness of the rain on his skin. She could hear the raucous, scrambled world inside his head. The silence sat between, so then there's actually, I don't have to explain it, but the silence sat between grandniece and baby grandaunt like a third person, a stranger, swollen, noxious. With her cucumber hand, she touched her new haircut. She left a riveting, bitter blob of cucumber froth behind. She watched baby Pachamama peel her cucumber. Yellow slithers of cucumber skin flecked her bosom. Her hair, dyed jet black, was arranged across the scalp like unspooled thread. The dye had stained the skin on her forehead a pale gray, giving her a shadowy second hairline. Rahel noticed that she had started wearing makeup, lipstick, a sly touch of rouge. And because the house was locked and dark, and because she only believed in 40-watt bulbs, her lipstick mouth had shifted slightly off her real mouth. The dim dining room light had rubbed the wrinkles off her face, leaving it looking in a strange, sunken way younger. She was wearing a lot of jewelry, Rahel's dead grandmother's jewelry, all of it. Winking rings, diamond earrings. Winking rings. I just really, and the way that they're very, very short sometimes a sentence is just one word or two words, which is very song-like to me.
Yeah.
Which is very song-like to me.
So. Yeah, and that passage reminds me of the idea, I always think of it as muscular verbs. Like the verbs do a lot of work, right? They're not just variations of to be, right?
Right.
The winking rings.
Right.
A lot of imagery.
Oh, absolutely. I would. Yeah, and a lot of the story, like even in that, just ties in time elsewhere, which I love, like the puzzle, like to figure it out, and the references across the book.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But
I
yeah,
love it. Thank you
it
for
is.
sharing
It's
that,
great.
Tina.
Thank you.
Haha. Shall we have some music?
Sure, I'd love
Yeah?
it.
Would you like to play something for us?
Sure. I'm trying to think of what I should play. Maybe I'll do. I know what I'll do. I will do. So talking about, well, maybe I'll do. I'll do this. This is actually when I'm thinking about being kind of stimulated by nature or thinking about nature. This song was inspired by a tree in the Boston Public Garden. It's a dawn redwood, and it's not the redwoods that you have over there, in California. It's a deciduous redwood, and it has cones. It drops its seeds. It was actually a Harvard botanist went over to Japan to gather these seeds, and apparently it was very treacherous for him to do that. And he went back a number of times and came back with this, and they gifted the seeds to the Boston Public Garden. So I was there last winter, and in the snow, and it is gorgeous. It is such an amazing tree. So it just
Where is that
flooded me.
tree? Do you know, like, if you were to, do you remember where in the garden it is?
If you're actually, it's on a path. If you're walking in and it's on a path, there are a number of them though. There are some smaller ones, but it is. If you're walking, I can't say where I was walking from. My daughter lives in Boston, so we went, and it's on the right side. You can't miss it. I don't see. And then you'd go around to the lagoon. You just keep walking around to the lagoon, which is also. There's a willow in that, which is in this song too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So the nature just, absolutely makes its way.
I'm glad you told me about. I'm glad you located this song in a place that I'm familiar with, because now
cool.
I'm going to imagine. I'm going to imagine myself.
Oh, absolutely!
Sitting there.
Go to see this tree, and then you'll just be staring at it for a long time. It's unbelievable. So, good. So here we go. We used to walk the public gardens. I'd wrap your hand in mine. We always stopped at the dawn redwood with her swirling bark, creeping roots entwined. I'm letting go. Letting go. Last winter, early in December, they cut the roses down and left a mound. I knew in April they'd be uncovered along with the plants wintering in the greenhouse. I'm letting go, letting go. This is my dawn redwood winter. I stand firm against the wind, and I drop my weathered leaves, but more will grow again. autumn, and the redwood's trunk has grown. She's tossed her cones to the ground. A willow's bough dips down to test the waters. I thought I saw you in the crowd. I'm letting go. Letting go. This was my dawn, redwood winter. I stood firm against the wind, and I dropped my weathered leaves. But more will grow again. And I dropped my weathered leaves, but more will grow again. I know they'll grow again.
Lovely, Tina.
Thank you.
Yeah, so meditative and just like allows you to be still,
Hmm.
right? It has like a sense of just presence.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Oh,
Reminds
sure.
me a little bit of Chelsea Morning,
Oh.
Joni Mitchell.
Hmm.
Um, I think also that idea of just like a moment in time, even though
Right.
the imagery that I associate with the song you just played and that song, very different colors in my mind, very different pictures going by, but it has that just moment in time. It's like a photograph.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that song. I covered that song. It's a great
Oh.
song. Yeah, and also it's an open tuning, so I think
Yeah.
it also gives that kind of that sense of kind of Joni Mitchell floating melody
Yeah.
over, something else going on the guitar.
Yeah. I love your guitar playing. So lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if you're seeing some of the
I
comments.
I
but a
am.
couple
I'm
of,
looking over. Adrian. Oh, Adrian is from South Wales, actually. Wow. Hi.
There we go.
How
Adrian.
wonderful.
Thank you, Adrian.
Oh, yeah,
And
beautiful
Pat
song.
Nason. Pat's going to be my guest next week. Pat, you're on the
Oh.
show. I'm excited to have Pat over on exactly where we are right now. And Joseph, I could see this being the theme to a version of Friends that takes place in Laurel Canyon instead of New York.
Oh, that's great.
Love it.
Are you in Laurel Canyon?
I am not in
Okay.
Laurel Canyon,
Oh, okay.
but Charlie, excellent song, Tina.
Ah.
Love it.
Beautiful.
I'm not in Laurel Canyon, but this was interesting. Someone described my music as my songs as having the heart of Laurel Canyon, the soul of the Chelsea Hotel, which I love because I'm an
that's
East Coast girl
wonderful.
living here in California, and I was very much raised
Got
on
both sides.
yeah. So I feel like to me when I received that, I felt like almost like a tesseract, to bring it back to the beginning. Like I felt like this whole expanse of my life just like came together, like it just. But I played a show recently where the host, Bruce Swan over at Music My Mother Would Not Like, he loved that description as well, but he said it in a slightly different way, which it was amazing to me that I hadn't heard it that way before. He said, I am in the heart of Laurel Canyon from the soul of the Chelsea Hotel, which is, that also made me feel so nice, because I really am, I mean, Laurel Canyon is like a stone's throw over there, and the Chelsea Hotel is a stone's throw from where I used to live. So,
and so much has evolved from those two places,
totally.
those spaces.
Yeah, and there was a lot of crisscross between the two. A lot of people came from New York all over here to LA, and and then back. So.
Yeah, and then just that beautiful music from Laurel Canyon.
So much.
I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
Someone recently, I'm in a songwriting group, and someone recently said that my music was like a fresh wind from the 60s with an up. I wish I should use it, actually. I haven't, like you're saying, you use that as your, but just something where it just, with its own, with a contemporary flair or flow or whatever, something like that. So it's really cool when people kind of have their ways of saying things. And
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to describe one art form in another art form. So describing music in language, just in words, who was it that said, talking about whatever is like dancing about architecture, and at the same time, it's really, do you know that quote? I'm trying to remember who that was, but
okay.
It's there somewhere.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows in the chat box, please chime in. It's hard, and yet it's also really inspiring. Like you were saying, writing songs inspired by the books that you're reading, and a Mary Oliver poem making its way into, somehow into your songs. It's like the way that we borrow. I have one song in particular I'm thinking of that. There's a Swedish poet, Thomas Tranströmer. He has a poem called The Blue House. Cheryl Strayed, the writer, has an essay that she wrote in part inspired by that poem. Her essay is called Ghost Ships, or I think it's called The Ghost Ships That Carry Us, or Carried Us, something like that. I have a song called Ghost Ships that I wrote inspired by her essay, and I happen to love that poet as well. So, it's like the way that,
right. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's really special.
Yeah. It's interesting how artists kind of talk to artists, not directly, but through their art. Yeah.
And, that's really beautiful. And that's okay. There's the whole thing with Bob Dylan and him using, songs from whenever and, the 1800s, and people think, there's plagiarism involved, but it's really just inspiration. I know that sometimes things are, stolen or taken, but there's nothing without inspiration, without, that flow of creativity from one of us to the other, and that it's in the air to grab, like Big Magic. Did you read Big Magic?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Just like that kind of thing, where it's like it's all there. We just need to kind of see it.
Yeah.
Like tap in.
Joseph knows the quote. Joseph, do you know who the quote is from, though? Maybe he'll chime in. Joseph is a wonderful multi-instrumentalist. He and I used to play together in a kirtan band. And I'm sure you know kirtan music, so I played a lot of kirtan music. And Joseph, I'm a clarinet player, and Joseph is a here comes the planes again. Here comes planes again. Joseph is a multi-instrumentalist, primarily woodwindist. I think.
Beautiful.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Joseph. Okay, let's see here. I am going to take us out with
good.
A song that I've been working on. I've been working on it for a few weeks now, and so it's still gelling. And we were talking about this beforehand in the green room. I have no idea why I am compelled to bring in songs for public performance that are not quite done. I never do this on a stage, actually. But yet, there's something about live streaming. Maybe it's just being cooped up in the shed for 16 or 18 months or whatever it's been. But that I just feel compelled to bring in songs that are very, very newly done, maybe even still slightly in process. And so this one, I feel like this one is still jelly. But it's interesting that we were talking so much about language and point of view, because this song was originally inspired by, I have two friends, Tanya and Javier, and they were awesome and supportive of a Kickstarter that I ran a couple of years ago to help me create the album that I released 11 months ago. And I wanted to write a song that was inspired by them, that was really for them. And so I sat down and had a conversation with them, and I said, you know, if I were to write a song about you, what is it that you would like to, what would you want in this song? And we had an amazing conversation, and one of the things that I was really struck by, they're from Mexico City, they live here in Los Angeles, and they are two beautiful people, very different personalities. Javi is, I think of him as an extreme extrovert, really, like, he works in the entertainment industry, he loves the red carpet, he loves Disney, he loves, like, all of that stuff. And Tanya is, I think of her, I think she would describe herself as a strong introvert, and she is very contemplative, and she has a podcast, but it's in Spanish. I've never been able to listen to it because I don't speak Spanish, but she has a podcast, and she is very thoughtful, and she's also a visual artist, Anyway, so we sat down and they just talked about how different they are, and I wanted to sort of try to capture that in a song. And so I've been working on this, and because I was writing it for them, it was initially in third person. And after I gave them a demo recording of it in third person, I was really sitting with it, and I was thinking, you know, that was for them in third person, him and her, she, he. Mm-hmm. But if I were to sing this myself, if I were to perform the song, does that feel authentic to me to be performing it in that way? And so I was like, let me just play with this. Let me see what happens if I move it into first person. And, you know, I and you instead of he and she. And some of the other things have been changing around, you know, some of the rhyme scheme, actually, some of the language. In fact, just today I've changed a couple of the lines. So,
I love that.
So that's where we are right now, and I'm going to try this. So Tina, you and whoever's watching, please, kindness. So
Will
here
you
we go.
mute me?
I will.
mute
Yeah,
myself,
yeah.
or
I
you
can
mute?
mute.
Yeah.
You could. You have the controls, but there you go. You're muted now. What else should I say about this song? I don't. Oh, except that the name of it is Miracle. Ankle deep in the Pacific, I sink my feet into the foam, looking out on the horizon. The ocean touches the unknown. I sang that totally wrong. Here we go. Hands and knees beside a tide pool. Maybe I'll just give commentary as I sing. Filling buckets for a mold, while my daydream thoughts are drifting by. You've built a castle with a moat. Ooh, call it a miracle. You call it unpredictable odds. Maybe I am Sense and Sensibility, and maybe you're more Star Wars and Disney, spinning the teacups faster and faster. I'm looking up for the belt of Orion, beyond the circle of airplanes flying. You're up on LA Stars award show fashion. Ooh, I call it a miracle. It seems improbable, the chances. When I think of space and time, we'd even land in the same country. You say it's a lucky roll of dice. Ooh, I call it a miracle. Maybe I am Sense and Sensibility, and maybe you're more Star Wars and Disney, spinning the teacups faster and faster. I'm looking up for the belt of Orion, beyond the circle of airplanes flying. You're up on LA Stars award show fashion. I call it a miracle. You call it unpredictable odds. No, I call it a miracle. Maybe I am Sense and Sensibility, and maybe you're more Star Wars and Disney, spinning the teacups faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. I'm looking up on the belt of Orion, beyond the circle of airplanes flying. You're up on LA Stars award show fashion. Ooh, I call it a miracle. Ooh, I call it a miracle.
Oh, wonderful. What a sweet story. And I just have to say that you chose to play it way up high on the guitar where you played it. Like the tessitura of that, that kind of really added to the feeling of the story. I just want to say, I just really was just very sweet. And then that was really beautiful. And that you started me by the edge of the ocean, which is so vast and it feels so much possibility there. And that's what this song is about, is possibility. And it's interesting, you were giving them both the same qualities though in the chorus, right? Maybe I'm this and you're that. Is that what you're saying, that maybe she's more grounded and he's more I'm not sure. I felt like you were offering them both similar qualities, and that's where they come together. Or was I mistaken?
I feel like that is a really great read of the song. And what I was trying to capture was with Sense and Sensibility, a reference to Jane Austen, and I was trying to capture that she's a little bit more like her nose in a book. But I don't feel that in the end I really like the play of that sound. So, maybe I'm Sense and Sensibility, but I feel like the most listeners are not going to then make the leap, oh, her nose is in a book. I feel like that's just not going to happen there. So yes, in a way I've thought about that a lot. Like there's not am I trying to say their similarities, or am I trying to illuminate their differences?
I think that works either way, because because it in my mind brought them together, and it works, and it's not such a miracle. I don't know. Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, that you're saying it's a miracle, but it really isn't as much as, obviously it's a sweet little love story.
And they are a very, very sweet couple. They are a very sweet love story. So
the music you chose fit that, is what I'm saying. You could have played it way down, but you didn't.
I wanted something more playful. Yeah, I don't know what compelled me to stick my capo up way up high on the neck. But when I first started working on the song, I put it there. I don't think I have any other song that's... I have one other song, actually, that's even a little north of that, but nothing else that high up. And I don't know.
I
Sometimes
liked it.
I don't know if you do you tend to use a capo or do you not?
I don't, but once in a while I do, but it's low. But just as you were playing, I was thinking, I
Yeah.
need to write a song up there. It makes me feel different. I
Yeah.
really like the way it made me feel.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's not quite in ukulele territory, but it does have that, I mean, I could imagine it being played on a ukulele,
Right. But it
just like,
has a higher, a ping, more of a ping than a ukulele would.
yeah,
It still
totally.
resonates more. It's just really, really beautiful song,
Thank you,
Arielle.
Tina.
Love it.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to if you're going to work it more. I don't
We'll
think you have
see
that
where it
much more to
goes.
do.
We'll
I
see
don't
where it
think you have
goes.
much more to do.
I think the melody needs to solidify a little more in
Mm.
the verses. And that's the part that I feel is most needing to gel.
One of the things I also like about what you do with your music is you do jump off the music with the words. Like you have a very articulate way of speaking.
Mm.
You're articulating your words
Mm.
sometimes in a, round way. And
Mm.
so it feels like it jumps off the note in a way. And it's very satisfying. I can't explain it. I don't know if I'm explaining it, but it just is very satisfying. So it kind of moves the story along on the music. I can't explain it. I don't know if I'm explaining it.
Tina, I love that I know that you didn't graduate with a degree, but that you were a vocal major. You mentioned behind the scenes
Mm-hmm.
back when you were in college, and I feel
Right.
like that really informs your understanding of language. And when you're listening,
Mm.
like even what you just said, I'm like, oh,
Mm.
she's like really like you have spent a lot of time thinking about that sort of thing,
Right.
probably coming from that world.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tina, do
thanks.
you have anything that is upcoming that you would like to promote or share before we say goodbye today?
Well, let's see. I have Sunday nights.
Oh,
Every
that's right.
Sunday I do a live on Tina Ross Music
Tina Ross Music,
on Facebook.
Facebook.
7 to 7:30. It's just a half an hour of songs. Like last time, I just did all new songs or mostly new songs, and just kind of a chance to connect. Some of the people that came here tonight are join me there. I'm so happy that
Is
you're
this
here.
did I get that right? Facebook.com/Tina Ross
Tina Ross
Music,
Music. Perfect.
right?
Thank
And
you.
it's on Sundays at 7 o'clock, you
Sundays,
said?
7 o'clock Eastern time.
7 o'clock Eastern.
I have gee whiz on my website, Tina Ross Music. On the bottom, I have a show. I think it's June 20th, with Jane Sides and Severn Brown. We're doing a little circle, which is really nice. And yeah, if you go to my website, tinarossmusic.com, there are some things on there.
I put that one in the show notes, I think, but I'll do it
Okay,
here as
that's
well
fine.
for that website. Nice.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh wait, did it? Yeah, there's it coming
Yeah.
up there.
It's
Tina
all
Ross
Tina Ross Music.
Music.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So wonderful.
I'm glad you mentioned that show. You said it's on the 20th, which is a Saturday. That's Father's Day, right? In
Yeah,
June.
is it 20th or 21st? I can tell you exactly. I'm wondering if it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
Let's see. Or maybe it's.
Adrian Thomas says,
Yeah.
really love the discussion and the music tonight. Arielle and Tina love Tina's Sunday streams. Great, Adrian. That's awesome. Thank you.
It's a Sunday. It is Father's Day.
Yeah.
You're right. It's a 4 to 6 Eastern time.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Um,
Father's Day. I didn't even realize that.
Maybe, I bet Severin was a guest on the show a while back, and he played a song that he wrote about his father. It's on his new album, and
Oh.
I bet he'll play that song. I hope he does.
Yeah.
It's a really lovely
He's
song.
so wonderful.
He is wonderful.
I really like him as a person too. I mean, I met him when I had gone to a songwriting retreat in California in January before the pandemic.
BC, before
BC,
COVID.
before COVID, right?
Yeah.
BC, there you go. And he was just so generous,
Yeah.
so giving, and he was also. I love the way he plays a lot of jazz chords and jazz things, and we had this whole conversation about jazz and playing jazz music,
Love
the
it.
chords and where to go and stuff. I know you probably have to go now. You have to go
Tina, this
now.
has been so lovely, and
Yeah.
I hope that I get out. I mean, I do plan to come out
If
to
you
the
do.
East Coast in 2022. Probably
Okay.
not 2021. but 2022.
Please.
And if you come out to California, or maybe we'll meet in the middle in KC, Kansas City, at the Folk Alliance conference or something
I
like that.
actually am going.
Okay.
I am going to go. I
Then-
decided I was going to go, so I'll be there.
I'm still on the fence.
Yeah, I'm gonna
You know,
go
but I
for
think
it.
I'm leaning. Okay.
I'm gonna go for it. I saw it and I said, you know, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just
Good
gonna
for
go.
you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's awesome. It's gonna
Yeah.
be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Tina. So with
Thank you
that-
so much. This was
yeah.
it was lovely. It was fun. It was enlightening. And I have a couple of books I can read now. Thank you.
My work
Thank
here
you
is
so
done.
much. Your work here is done.
All right,
Thank
I'll
you.
see you backstage.
Okay.
And I will see you all. I wanted to let you know that linktr.com / or linktr.ee, whatever that is, down there. If you want to know more about me, please visit that link. And if you would like to support the show, please join my Patreon. And also on that link are my upcoming my upcoming show dates. I think it's under tour at that link. And I will be playing for locals here in LA. I am playing the Make Music Topanga Festival on the first day of summer, which is the 21st of this month. It is a Monday, but it is the first day of summer. So come on down to Topanga. I'm playing at a bunch of shops are having live music, and so I'll be playing at Pebbles, which is a clothing store. And I have, what can I say? If you walk away with a bundle of clothes, that's your business. I think that's their business, so that would be lovely. And what else can I tell you? My Patreon, I mentioned that already. And I don't know, I think that's it. For those of you who might be up in Ojai, keep your eyes open for an upcoming date up there. And until next week, we have Pat Nason, by the way, next week. And until then, please take care, be safe, be sound, take it easy, and I'll catch you on the other side.